Iman. So we looked at this briefly yesterday. Haya is an inner quality. It's something which is within a person. And haya is such a thing that it should be instinctive. It should be instinctive that the moment a person realizes that my haya is exposed, then immediately they take steps to address that instinctively, without someone even telling them, basically. This is the nature and quality of haya and how it should be. And we looked at a few examples yesterday. We looked at the example of Ali radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, where he says, Kuntu rajulan madha. We went into detail into this narration yesterday, how he felt shy, he felt bashful in asking such a personal and intimate question to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Similarly, we looked at the Quran, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has instructed. He has instructed the wives of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, the azwajul mutahharat, the ummahatul mu'mineen radiyallahu anhunna, that when you speak to someone who is not your mahram, then do not speak to them in a soft tone. Rather, speak to them in a business-like manner. And the reason was given as well, فَيَطْمَعَ الَّذِي فِي قَلْبِهِ مَرَضٍ, that the person in whose heart there is an illness, a disease, a desire to commit sin, he does not have the wrong type of yearning and he does not get the wrong impression because of the way you are interacting with him, talking with him, communicating with him. Today we just want to briefly look at another incident from the lives of the Sahaba Kiram radiyallahu anhum ajma'een. We can learn so much from that, from the lives of Sahaba Kiram radiyallahu anhum ajma'een. This is an incident which is mentioned in Bukhari regarding the daughter of Abu Bakr radiyallahu anhu, Asma radiyallahu anha, Asma bint Abi Bakr, who was married to a Sahabi called Zubair bin Awwam radiyallahu anhu. She's the mother of the famous Sahabi Abdullah bin Zubair, who was martyred by Hajjaj bin Yusuf. He was martyred later on by Hajjaj bin Yusuf. And Asma bint Abi Bakr, she lived till the ripe age of 100. In fact, Abdullah bin Zubair, her son, left this world before her. And I think she did not pass away too long after his martyrdom. But she lived till the age of over 100. So regarding Asma radiyallahu ta'ala anha, she basically narrates herself that I married Zubair radiyallahu anhu, وَمَا لَهُ فِي الْأَرْضِ مِن مَال وَلَا مَمْلُوكٍ وَلَا شَيْءٍ. That when I married my husband Zubair radiyallahu anhu, he did not have any, possessions, no land, no slave, no wealth, nothing. He just had the bare, what we call the bare essentials, a roof over our head, and he had a وَلَا شَيْءٍ غَيْرِ نَاضِحٍ وَغَيْرِ فَرَسِهِ. He had a camel, one camel and just one horse. And that camel as well, it was a camel that was used for irrigation. So these animals, they had to be fed. Animals are not easy to look after. So these animals had to be fed. And Zubair, because he was busy in other chores daily, for example, earning a living, etc., feeding the animals was my responsibility, she says. So Asma radiyallahu ta'ala anha, she narrates, فَكُنْتُ أَعْلِفُ فَرَسَ وَأَسْتَقِ الْمَاء وَأَخْرِزُ غَرْبَهُ وَأَعْجِنُ. And basically, she's saying that I used to do all these chores, feeding the horse. I used to bring water from a distance of 2 miles away. Remember, one is water just for the family. A small amount would have sufficed daily. But when you've got 2 animals in the house to feed and to water as well, they need a significant amount of water to drink every day. So she used to carry this water from a distance of around 2 miles, basically. And then she says that if the bucket, which was made out of leather, if that basically had a hole inside, I would have to repair that as well. And I used to also make the dough to make bread, etc. And she's very honest. She says that وَلَمْ أَكُنْ أُحْسِنُ الْخُبْزِ. I could not make roti properly. she says. I was not an expert at making whatever type of roti, khubz they had in those days. So she says, فَكَانَ يَخْبِزُ جَارَاتٌ لِي مِنَ الْأَنصَارِ وَكُنَّ نِسْوَةَ صِدْقٍ. That my Ansari neighbors, the women, they used to come and help me. They used to come and help me to basically make these khubz, make these rotis. And she describes them with the words, وَكُنَّ نِسْوَةَ صِدْقٍ. وَكُنَّ نِسْوَةَ صِدْقٍ. That they were basically honest, sincere women. Meaning they used to come and help me from the goodness of their heart. They had no other intention other than helping me genuinely, basically. So she narrates that once I had basically some burden on my head, and I was at a distance of 2 miles from my house. And what happened is, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, فَلَقِيتُ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ وَمَعَهُ نَفَرٌ مِّنَ الْأَنصَارِ فَدَعَانِي ثُمَّ قَالَ. Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was going past with a group of Sahaba, Ansari Sahaba, and they were obviously on riding animals, on camels. So Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam saw me. Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam saw me, and he saw that I was carrying this burden on my head. And he knew that my house is almost 2 miles away. So Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said to me that why don't you ride one of these camels? That why don't you mount one of these camels and we will take you back to Medina. So Asma radiyallahu ta'ala anha, she says, فَاسْتَحْيَيْتُ أَنْ أَسِيرَ مَعَ الرِّجَالِ. Despite this offer from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam to assist her, to help her, she says that I was shy. I felt shy to travel with the men. كنت واستحييت أن أسير مع الرجال. That it was not because of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There were many other Sahaba with him in the group, and I felt shy that I travel with these men, basically. So she refused. She refused, not verbally, but her actions. وَذَكَرْتُ الزُّبَيْرِ وَغَيْرَتَهُ وَكَانَ أَغْيَرَ النَّاسِ. Something else that made her stop taking that offer of help and support is, I remembered my husband Zubair وَغَيْرَتَهُ, and his ghayra. You know, ghayra is very difficult to describe in English. Ghayra is something which a person feels when their haya is violated. You know, I'll give you a small example of ghayra, that usually a person with ghayra inside them, they would not want their wife to maybe go to a particular place, you know, a particular type of shop, frequented maybe more by males, etc. His ghayra would say, I come with you, or I will go, basically. That type of thing. I can give you other examples as well, but I think ghayra is something which is something that has slowly and slowly diminished and decreased and almost buried in our society, in our community, unfortunately. So Asma radiyallahu anha, she says, I remembered Zubair, my husband, and I remembered his ghayra, and she says, وَكَانَ أَغْيَرَ النَّاسِ. You know, he had compared to other men of his age, he had the most ghayra. وَكَانَ أَغْيَرَ النَّاسِ. I knew my husband, if he saw me traveling with this group of male Sahaba, Ansari Sahaba, he would not like it. He would feel intense ghayra, basically. So she refused, and did not refuse verbally. She was hesitant, and immediately فَعَرَفَ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وسلم أَنِّي قَدْ اسْتَحْيَيْتُ فَمَضَى. Prophet ﷺ immediately understood her reason for hesitating. So he did not basically extend the offer any further. Rather, he understood that she was feeling shy, and Prophet ﷺ and the Sahaba who were with him, they continued on their journey. Asma radiyallahu ta'ala then goes home, she reaches home, and she mentions this incident to her husband Zubair radiyallahu anhu, that today Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he met me. With him there was a group of Sahaba. He saw me that I was carrying a heavy load on my head, and he wanted to assist me. But I refused because I felt shy and I knew about your ghayra, O Zubair. So she understood the temperament of her husband. She appreciated that and she upheld that, basically. So Zubair radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, he exclaimed and he replied to her that, I understand, you understand my ghaira, etc. But on this occasion, it would have been better for me if Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had not seen you. This is more of a ghaira for me, that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam sees you carrying this heavy load and coming back home basically with it to do the household chores. This was more of a ghaira for me than if you had just accepted this lift from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and come into Medina with him. So our objective of this qissa, of this story, is just look at Asma radiyallahu ta'ala anha. That even though Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is present, because there are other Sahaba with him, she feels shy. She does not accept the lift, and she doesn't say it verbally, but her bodily actions clearly demonstrate that she's hesitant. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, obviously, he does not ask any further. He understands and he appreciates the issue, and he continues with his journey. So this is a great lesson for us, for our women, for our men, for all of us. And this is something else that you need to ponder. We've been looking at the topic that a suitable career for our sons, for our children. And I mentioned 2-3 days ago that basically, what do you want to decide for your daughter? I leave to you. Basically, I'm not here to give a fatwa or an opinion as to how far you should educate your daughters and whether they should be working, what type of job or profession they should go into, etc. However, I highlighted just one thing, that the responsibility of providing is not the woman's, it's the husband's. But just a small example, that which father and which husband would want their wife to go into such a working environment which is male dominated? Our ghaira should basically propel us and push us to think of these things, that how can I let my wife go into a male dominated environment? We talked about our sons, our boys. One is, the job is halal, the profession is halal, fine. However, there's other considerations, that sometimes our children, our sons might go into an environment which is white, male dominated, and they always feel under pressure. That's our boys we're talking about. Just imagine the situation and the issues surrounding our daughters and our sisters. That where do they stand in all this? So basically, this is all about haya, about modesty. And this is a quality which every one of us should strive for. Al-haya'u min al-iman, it's an imani quality. Your haya, basically, it's a display of your iman. Just like there's other signs of iman, apparent signs, a person coming into the masjid and performing salah, we will give shahada, this person is a believer, this is a sign of that person's iman. Similarly, haya is a display of our iman. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the ability to inculcate this quality and instill this quality first within us and within our children and our families as well. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.